Yes, hello. Oh, thanks very much for this intro. In actual fact, we were not planning to do any company slides because we really focus on the content, but maybe we can briefly kick off with two or three words on Valantic. Yes, I invite you to speak first. There are fewer people than knowing you than they know Syndigo. This is a good reason why we're here. Yeah, my name is Philipp Himmler. I'm part of Valantic. Valantic itself is one of the biggest European IT service providers for transformation in the digital realm, but also follows the classical approach, ERP, SAP, customer experience, and many other areas. We have over 4,500 employees worldwide, and I'm personally a part of the Valantic PIM and MDM Competence Center, and I'm responsible for MDM that we look after with our strategic partner, Syndigo. I personally look back at over 15 years of experience. I've worked a lot with customers and then actually started working as a consultant. And this is why I'm happy to share some insights about PXM. And I would like to hand the floor to you. Well, thank you, Philip. I'm Martin of Syndigo. For 3.5 years, I've been with Syndigo, and I'm responsible for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, new customer business. And since September, I have been working between brands and retailers in PXM, product excellence management, and I've always succeeded in helping my customers to improve their product excellence. Not always, but most of the time. Syndigo has been around since the 70s of the last century. We started as a software vendor, helping retailers to exchange shelf labels to really make sure that the labels say what's really on the shelves. And this challenge exists for all who want to exchange product data. And we have constantly developed our product portfolio in line with the demands of our brands, of our customers, and the verticals we serve. And we're now an end-to-end solution for data exchange and data management with a focus on PIM and MDM. And of course, across the total products experience, this is why we're talking about EPXM. On your seats, you will also find a little barcode that you can scan, and then you will find a study that we would also briefly like to mention as part of our presentation. And I guess we kick off with the study. Yes. Future-proof PXM. Well, let's start with the end. Deconstructing PXM, and we will look how shoppers view product data. What is relevant for them? Why is it relevant for them? So what do product data have to fulfill so that shoppers take a content decision? And Philip will explain what this has to do with PIM and MDM. And then I will close by saying what alongside PIM, MDM is necessary in addition to priint and all of the other possibilities, to syndicate data among all of the parties involved on the market and to understand what is happening in the digital channels and how can I optimize what's happening there. And then we will look at it from end to end. Well, the question reads, when I look at shoppers, we want to sell products. This is the whole idea why we look at this topic. What do shoppers do? It is extremely difficult to understand and ensure what actually drives the shoppers through the various channels and media during their customer journey and what they really want to know and which ecosystems, which touch points the shoppers touch. And this is why we polled the shoppers. We did a study in the US, France, Germany, UK, covering the most relevant markets for Syndigo in the Western Hemisphere, and try to find out what is important to shoppers. And the clear insights in the study, through the link you can actually have a detailed look at the study. incomplete product data are a genuine killer. We know that. How does the quality of product data impact the customer journey and the purchase decision? Then the question, is there specific content that is more or less relevant? What is more relevant in terms of a product category? Then is a shopper interested in ESG, environmental, social, and governance today? Is it a relevant topic for shoppers? And of course, at the end is the question, how open-minded are shoppers towards AI? Do they have an issue with it? That product content has probably been generated by AI. The interesting thing about this is that in our study we saw that customers from Germany are most open-minded compared to all of the other countries we looked at. But more details in the study. I found this very exciting. We're speaking about content, so let me talk about the content elements that are specifically relevant. This is very broad. There are not just 2 or 5 that are standing out. No, our insight was that shoppers, and we're not doing this study for the first time, we've actually executed it several times. Shoppers want more and more information across the board. Not only product information, structured content, descriptions or future benefits, dimensions, or images. No, they also want to have the 360-degree animation. He wants to have specifications and the value added. So you cannot focus or limit yourself to 2 or 3 topics. Video continues to be very relevant for shoppers. So it is decisive to understand how my product portfolio, my categories, how shoppers react to know where I should invest in generating content. Content that is specific for USBs. This costs a lot of money and you have to be really sure what to do. Split testing, you've all done this. This is extremely time and consuming, and you can automate these. When you worked with marketplaces or with distributors, then it is so time consuming to run split testing and involve them in doing so. This means you need information as granular as possible, but also which can be accumulated on which content is important for which products. Is there probably even a comparison with competitors? How does my content perform versus my benchmark, my competitors? What is my conversion rate that I've achieved? Which interactions can I achieve in the various areas? Where did I have any deficits? Which campaign prompted more interaction and which campaign was less successful? All of this is essential information that I want to gain. Videos too. Seeing this from the back is all new to me. Videos continue to have a big impact. They were mentioned in 30% of the cases. Videos that show the products, the application routines, highlight the USPs, but also allow drawing comparisons with other products or creating references for certain versions. This makes it very interesting for shoppers, so that shoppers can actually jump back and forth between products on marketplaces. Now, we've said a lot, but what is really relevant for shoppers at the end of the day and what you have to pay attention to at the end of the journey, Philip, what does this mean for PIM and MDM? Well, this is an exciting topic today. I have brought along this image here. Some will know it. I I do not know where it hails from, but it shows the architecture of companies, where they currently stand, where they come from. And the exciting bit is all modern digital infrastructure is the heading, and that all customers are digital and lots of things are doing in the front end, which also works. But what's under the bonnet is often so that there are still many Excel spreadsheets being used in companies or Access databases. We have many different systems that have historically grown. And when you then look at this within the context of PXM and in terms of data and what you really need, you know what has happened in the past. On the one hand, this is historically grown when IT was still called EDP. And it all started with the merchandise management system. You had to do many manual things. It started with classical ERP, then production, purchasing, and there were always different stakeholders that were related to product data. Then logistics. This is a key point when you talk about the packaging hierarchy, weights, dimensions, in retail in particular. Then if it's about customer data or shopper data, well, then the ERP system is probably not so good to serve and define customers. And this is why new ecosystems developed, such as CRM. And this has developed into customer data platforms, CTP, where the interaction with the various channels is reflected. This has really developed fast. Data, this topic has probably suffered because people said, yeah, we've got this ERP system and it contains everything and we'll manage one way or the other. But we felt through all of the monolithic structures, it is very difficult when I have to personalize, I want to personalize and to live up to all of the market requirements, then these monolithic systems are too heavy, too clumsy. So you're too late to be a first mover. We actually Clubhouse, for instance, is a good example during COVID. Speech commentaries. This was a completely new platform, and the companies that use Clubhouse were able to generate lots of sales with Clubhouse when they were in the right industry. But as soon as this social network actually appeared, it was gone after COVID. So things are getting faster and faster. So how do I connect this data? Do we have ISP platforms where I can actually syndicate this data? There are more sector-specific applications where I have to provide data or make data available. And then new requirements logically. Then we had the e-commerce, and we're all in e-commerce. It started with a web catalog, the digital showcase, then the first web store was added. Now we're talking about marketplaces and platforms where we have to provide our data and product data. And this is how the world became more and more complex. And we're, of course, all trying to keep up the customer experience and giving our shoppers the best customer experience. Historically, this is very, very dovetailed. Everything is very interlinked, and for PSM, and this brings us to PIM and MDM. You need to create a foundation where you can actually bundle your data intelligently, the single source of truth, but where you can also remain efficient. And when you look at this, especially in the PXM environment, and looking back where PXM comes from PIM, of course, and when we look back 10 or 15 years ago, the clear approach was to be media neutral. I want my product data and actually have it available for all channels in a neutral way with customer applications on the web shop or whatever. Through digitalization and digital commerce, this is, of course, massively changed. I have to be far more individual. So I need specific information for specific target groups, for specific markets, and all of this. And this is why we need, and we're doing workshops with our customers, we need a clear strategy. Where is the customer headed? What do they want to achieve? And this is usually the difficult approach, telling them that technology as such doesn't help. Of course, without technology, we can't do it, but we first need a plan and a strategy. And then we can actually design the customer experience based on this. Martin already mentioned the ESG and the DPP, all the requirements, the new requirements. So there are other requirements today because I cannot no longer handle everything with a classic PIM system, but I need a multi-domain platform where I can actually view this in a granular style. It starts with products, the data model, but when I want to serve the ESG or the digital product passport, then things get very granular and very detailed. So I cannot just simply add a few attributes. So instead, I have to add more domains. In a similar fashion for the classical PXM on the commerce side, where I want to syndicate specific content for different channels, I lose control. So data management and updating is a big issue. And this is why I have to give a lot of thought how to properly design this. And this shows or is reflected by the linking from the product to the shopper, always industry specific, but also with vendors, whether I'm in retail and need onboarding, but even in manufacturing, where actually need components from various vendors and traceability is at stake. And this is why I've prepared this very rough graph of a multi-domain environment. So classical product design components, but it all also goes down to competitors' products, spare parts, and even equipment. Machine builder, for instance, I know they wanted to build a second-hand machinery shop. They used PDFs and Excel spreadsheets through their SharePoint site, and when you clicked on the link, then the screenshot opened. Yeah, that's one way of doing e-commerce, but this is not really digital. And when I want to work with such a platform, then can also include the products, enrich them with serial numbers, and actually syndicate this for another workshop for another platform. Then text, an example. Some people think we don't need all this. But tourism beispielsweise, take this. Think of an alpine hut in Austria for rentals. In summer, you see summery landscapes with green pastures. You invite tourists to hike. And of course, this is how I want to advertise this on platforms and marketplaces. In winter, it's different. I want to go skiing, so I need snow-covered landscapes. And at the end of the day, it's always the same alpine hut or the same hotel. And I have to work with context. This can be market-specific, seasonal, because I have products from high premium to low budget. And in other markets, this approach doesn't work. And then channel-specific topics. Amazon, for instance, has other requirements. These are extreme requirements. Or maybe I want to have the best content on my own website. And this also includes the business partners, vendors, of course. sustainability, a product passport, and even down to sites. And there is a calculation of products that is checked whether the products can really be produced at the individual sites. And to the extreme left, you should never forget assets. Of course, they're drawings, images, but certificates, for instance, that are getting more and more important. And this also needs to be handled. I can do it holistically through a consistent workflow system base that triggers the process and actually tells the individual company departments what to do. Again, we often discuss with organizations, why can't one system manage all of this? Looking back, where ERP systems came from, transactional data, process-oriented systems, but ERP systems hardly have anything to do with product data and master data. A data model that must be granular and multi-layered, where I inherit and pass on information, does not work with ERP. And the CRM systems that are actually designed and specialized for their ecosystem. But in the middle, you've got the MDM or the PIM systems that are very flexible, that allow me to design my data models in such a way that it is really relevant for my business case. Or if I'm a retailer or supply retailers, then the packaging hierarchy with various stepped quotes. Then on the right-hand side, the touch points. There are more and more touch points, logically. The times of your own web shop are over and gone. There are new channels added by the day, and the market requirements are increasing speedily. On the one hand, this can be the business model with the second-hand machinery by eBay, for instance, but I can also use this data to serve in-house system, because many companies have grown over the past decades, have globalized, and they have become many legal entities, maybe through merger and acquisition. And I somehow have to accommodate all of these entities. And this is why in the middle, a solution that can manage data, such a data platform, so useful. And they can then be oriented towards PXM with personalization, environmental topics, and which can be developed further then. Let's look at relevance again. Horst mentioned this in his presentation this morning. What do I really need? It is, of course, difficult to look into the crystal ball to know what I need tomorrow, but this is how I create the foundation. And if I am too short-sighted today and just say, well, I do a little PIM because I do not need PXM, then I will fail the day after. And this has to do with the 360-degree view, because once I have linked these data points with each other, I can evaluate and run analyses. Why the data is generated, or later when it is syndicated, to really analyze how my content is received. And then I try to serve the connected content, everything to do with a unified omnichannel strategy, providing the same content, consistent content, but in the ways that the channels need it, and without causing an error message, so that shoppers always have the right information. And there, PXM, Product Experience Management, plays a crucial role. So I can actually place product data in specific context, both for the shoppers but also for the employees, because some employees do not need all of the information. And for efficient work, we need the specific view also for the employees, especially when you're in a global local context. So when you actually have various local entities. And these are issues that we actually address, want to address, and must address with the data platform. And after data enrichment and after syndication of data, we can finally draw a complete picture. And this is why I would like to hand over the floor to you again. Yeah, right, Philip. So what have we heard? A brief wrap-up. And it's so difficult to talk after the lunch break, even for me. But we already addressed two issues. We discussed what drives or moves shoppers during their customer journey, and we heard what we need to do to pool relevant content in my organization to have it available at a certain point in time. Philip just explained what needs to be done, what the key topics are, and you could spend days discussing it. But we've also talked about the information supply chain, and we've broken it down. Let's make it a double infinity chain. This is the double infinity loop. If you've identified this right away, congratulations. The left sphere was actually described the enterprise data sphere. So this is the content coming from ERP, the various terminal devices, ERM, and to produce a complete data set. This is fantastic. And you can do it fantastically. There are many systems available, and you can get good and bad processes. What does it give me? Not a lot, because what is decisive is that the content comes to the place where the shoppers can find and see it at the touch points. And this is why this content needs to be pushed there. Today are doing this with emails to them in the B&B segment, or partners can actually download information from platforms, paper catalogs, digital directories. I still have a customer using fax. It's in the food service area. It's my last customer using fax. Striking, isn't it? That's one way to actually transmit data. He's using the fax because his customers want this fax. This is where the content needs to go. And I have to transport it somehow. So a connection is missing. So how can I efficiently distribute data and get a feedback on whether it has the data has been received? We named this synchronization data syndication. And once we've syndicated the data, we also want to know what's happening in those channels. With the fax, I stand little chance of seeing what's happening. But in digital channels, with a digital shelf analytics, I can find out what has happened or is happening in this channel. Syndication and analytics. I'll try to explain this over the next few minutes to show you the value we can generate. Syndication means you have to take or be able to distribute content to a variety of dimensions. There are many connections and many companies that want to have your product content. I need this specific API, XML, I want to have this standard, or maybe in retail or in the medical device area, I want to have GDSN data. Or I have retailers saying, I want to have this API, Amazon, for instance. Then there are B2B trading platforms that only work with specific formats. Or myself as a brand, I can say, I simply offer a digital catalog where customers or shoppers can go and I make their product portfolio available, and they just download their own files, B and C customers. Or for the various touch points, I include print, various digital catalogs, but also paper-based catalogs. So these are 5 different dimensions we've listed here that are relevant for the syndication of the contextualized content, which we've orchestrated so well in PIM and MDM. So the question reads, how do I optimize, once I've syndicated this digital content, my engagement? We talked about the shopper initially, who needs proper content to really be able to select the right product. Comparative charts, for instance, or concrete user information. We refer to this as enhanced content at Syndigo. So there is content that is above a certain line, above the bold. So this is what you see immediately. Then for the product name, further information, usually also the price. And there's the below the foot content. So this is the detailed product page where you scroll down if you want to. And you provide very detailed information, and you provide it in an attractive way to also understand what is the perfect content that makes the shopper shop. And if you make this content available and then analyze what's going on in this channel, then you have very concrete insights what's correct, and then can invest in the right channel, in the right content to roll out the right products. We do this on over 1,000 websites globally, and through our mechanisms, we have measured a 36% lift. And this is also what I stated in the title of our presentation. So it's a 36% additional conversion. This is probably why you came to listen to this presentation. Besides knowing what actually interests shoppers on my detailed product pages and how long he's read this or she's read this, is content engagement. It is also important to understand whether I have do all the detailed project pages contain the content I need for my global footprint? Because I syndicate content to my B2B customers so that they actually make this information available. Is it really there? Or is the content that my retailer has is probably a lot better than the one that I have, because they have probably included an additional intent for their specific shopper group, or because they ran tests? And then the question, integrity. Is the content the right content for this product on the detailed product page? This is not necessarily the case. And digital shelf analytics to the extreme right. I probably also want to know what my competitors do. How big is my share of shelf on this marketplace? Do I win the buy box? If not, why? Do my distribution partners comply with the prices we've set? So price monitoring and other insights. I could actually spend another 15 minutes discussing this. This information brings us to the point, if I get the consistent feedback of this information to my ecosystem, then I can really leverage this information to take data-driven decisions on content and pricing strategies. And that we not only do this theoretically is reflected by our happy customers. They have implemented this end-to-end future-proof PXM. Schleich said that they're so happy about the simplicity of the system. The colleagues of Dorel, all three brands, by the way, were very present in my home. Schleich is no longer so current. Dorel is no longer current. We no longer need children's seats. The only brand that is still popular in our household is Weber, the Weber grill. It was not... they form part of my private environment. But have a closer look at Schleich. Apart from the crazy number of 40 million figurines that they sell in over 60 countries, 120 were collected by my two daughters. I have two daughters above 10. They had a complete set of horses, complete with the stables and whatever. This is, of course, a thing of the past. They've grown out of this age. But what has Schleich? Why have they decided to work with us? Well, they were faced with the challenge that the requirements for managing content became too high. They could no longer manually manage this. They wanted us to automate this. They wanted to understand. They wanted to move away from manual checking of the design of the websites. They wanted to automate this step. So to no longer invest time in managing content, but generating insights that can bring change that boosts sales. And this is what they did successfully. And they're one of many happy customers with automated workflows, automated processes, performance in processes, higher sales, faster or shorter time to market. So these are the classical parameters. At this point, Philip, would you do a wrap-up after we have touched upon so many different points? Yeah. You have picked up on many topics, and this is the big target of Syndigo and Valantic for our customers as consultants. We want to create an ecosystem for product data, for master data, and the big aim is to actually break down data silos. We want to avoid media ruptures, etc. And this is shown very well by this slide because they have 5 titles. So first, create data. Depending on the industry or the context, it can range from onboarding of vendors, there's a vendor portal, then there's verified content. So if you receive content from other sources, then I have my own content creation. And you should try to design it in such a fashion that you create added value and work efficiently. Technology is the important point I mentioned. How can we manage data? How can we enrich data? Which data do they need for which content? And there are various concepts and solutions available for this. This can range from a classical PIM to if we're talking about customer MDM or vendor MDM or location MDM, I could include stores or manufacturing sites. Then the big point, it's great to have fantastic data and save this data. I want to syndicate this data, and this is why the syndicate part is so important. The syndication for various channels. This can be through GDSN or other platforms, especially in retail, but also customer platforms, exchange formats, then portals that customers have access to. So there is a huge playground, and Syndigo tries to make an offer that no customer can resist. So we cater to all the needs. Then looking at the third part, Martin mentioned it, especially for PXM, is the question of engagement. Things are getting more and more transparent. New channels, new competitors, also from abroad, are joining the game. And the products are not only comparable, it's in part the same. So we need to enhance content to satisfy shoppers, going beyond the classical product description, but maybe include a 3D graph or visuals and hand it over to Amazon, because Amazon has pretty extreme requirements that they make on data. If not, if I don't comply, then my whole product or whole range is delisted. Then Guided selling is also an important point, which is not only exciting for retailers, but also in classical manufacturing, how to show my products off even better, and digital shelf analytics is the last point. If I have actionable insights. This is the great thing about syndication. In the old PIM world, where syndication was not an issue yet, you simply imported the data and that was it for the added value. The value creation, the business value, is so much higher with the DSA solution. So I can really evaluate how my content is received. Is there a perfect fit on the shopper side? Maybe there's product information missing that actually reduces, or if I add it, could reduce aborted shopping carts. So within this context, it is important for us and for Syndigo just as well to offer an end-to-end solution so that the data is consistent from end to end and can be optimized from end to end. So much from me as the last point I wanted to make. Fantastic, done. Is this really the end? Well, considering the amount of input, I would like to give you the opportunity to ask questions on this topic. Yeah, Weber Grill. This is the only brand that I can actually relate to. But are there any questions regarding the content? There's still the opportunity before the Emperor's new clothes will be presented. Yeah, the gentleman with the yellow chain, the lanyard, and there's another question over there. I have a brief question on the consumer study. I didn't want to call up the study because I wanted to follow your presentation. Oh, that's very laudable. So, who did you target as a group, and what were the product groups typically included in the study? How do we have to understand this? Well, it was a mixture of B2B and B2C. And the age bracket? Yeah, you can read it in the report. It was a broad mixture. And you see differences in the age groups. There's a clearly higher aversion against AI in product details among the younger people. Older people are less critical. And this is also reflected by the document. So I really have to look at it in detail. I think it's interesting because our kids find product quality not very interesting. Our daughter, for instance, is looking for a product and selects a product because she likes the photo of the pullover, and the maximum she needs is a drop-down menu to select her size, and she cares shit about the rest. And speaking about customer experience or product experience with the younger target group, we also have to talk about customer behavior. How do these young target groups behave? Because they have a completely different focus. And the question I wanted to address to you as a manufacturer, as a software manufacturer or solutions provider, is how do we avoid that Temu and Shein are flooding or inundating Europe with their parcels? This is a huge issue. I think we would do a separate session on this because it goes beyond the framework. But I agree with you regarding the topic of teenagers and teenage behavior. I also have two daughters, but this is developing. This behavior is developing. In the beginning, they actually ordered with Urban Outfitters, but just once because the returns fee was 25 euros. So behavior does change over time.